It's been called the iPad for kids, the iPod Air 3, and it's even been called the budget iPad, but it's not really any of those things. If you want to be technical, it's the 6th generation iPad, and it was released last week in Chicago. iPad's nomenclature has been all over the board since its launch of the original iPad in 2010, but I think they've just consolidated it now down to the iPad and the iPad Pro. So this new one is simply the iPad. There is no question over the years the iPad has gotten thinner, lighter, and a lot more powerful. It's still the standard 9.7-inch screen with standard resolution, but they've gotten rid on this particular version of the lamination and the anti-glare coating, which is going to make this thing a real magnet for fingerprints, so be warned ahead of time. The new model boasts an A10 Fusion chip running at 2.3 megahertz, which is substantially faster than the previous model. The A10 chip is about 40% faster as a CPU versus the A9 and about 50% faster as a GPU. This is the same chip that was used in the Apple 7 and the Apple 7 Plus. Why not go directly for the A11 in the new iPad? Well, first, it would drive prices up. This iPad starts in the UAE for about 1,349 dirhams, but the schools get a slight discount if they want to buy it. The iPad 8 starts at 2,991. You can see if they put a new chip in here, there'd be a substantial boost in the overall cost. There's also the issue of battery life. Apple is trying to say that the new iPad has a battery life of about 10 hours. That's great, but it's not ideal. So it sounds like Apple was trying to balance weight, processors, and battery life. The new iPad also comes with the M10 Motion Coprocessor. This is the chip that grabs all the data from your device's motion sensors, such as the accelerometer and the gyroscopes. It processes it all together and sends it onto the CPU and helps process things overall a little bit faster. The new processing speed is significant for what Apple is trying to do. It first of all allows this new iPad to have its augmented reality technology built in, and Apple is hoping that will help drive its take-up in the education sector. The new iPad also supports the Apple Pencil, and I'm sure parents are just waiting to have to give their new kids, a 399 dirham pencil, which of course they'll probably lose very quickly. But if they do keep a hold of it, it actually does some fairly nice stuff. This will allow you to take notes. You can actually annotate and edit your schoolwork in it, or you can draw pictures. Previously, the pencil was sort of the prerogative of the artists and the industrial design types who were using the MacBook and the iPad Pro. This thing actually, though, anyone can use it, so it can now be part of the educational system. The new iPad is relatively easy to set up. You don't have to go through the process of having to tell it where you are and what Wi-Fi you are if you already have a previous iPhone. In my case, I have the iPhone 8. You can just simply put it right down next to the iPad. It'll connect via Bluetooth and start the setup process there. You actually have to scan the little code that the iPad will show with your phone to make sure it's an authenticated connection, but then it transfers all your data and your new iPad will begin to download all your previous apps. It may take a while, especially if you have a lot of apps like I do, but it will get them all there. On the bottom of the iPad, you have the speakers, there's the standard connection port, and the 2 volume ports. The front camera, and of course there is an 8 megapixel camera so students or whoever's using the iPad can take pictures. Oh, one last thing to tell you about the pencil. It does work with previous versions of the iPad Pro, but not previous versions of the iPad. So the new iPad, which is out today, right now, does work with the pencil. This is Scott Shuey for Overclocked, the new Gulf News technology blog.